Sweetie, darling, honey, light of my life, you didn't let me finish. I don't remember if that's the line.
You're ruining it.
I'm not gonna hurt you. This is turning into Jared Leto's Joker.
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Hold on.
I'm just gonna do a little
Hold on.
dance.
I gotta get my Jack Nicholson better. You ever
Okay.
dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Why is he Southern for you?
Windy. He's not Southern. Windy. That's my no. Ever dance with the devil is my key phrase. Hold on. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? Wendy, darling, light of my life. I'm gonna kill you. It's a scary movie. Hi, I'm Jackson McMurray.
Wow, you really fucked up my joke. I
Here's...
had a joke, and you were like, I could do it. And then you just
Okay.
didn't. You just didn't do it.
You do it then. You do it then. Okay, wait, what if I said, here's Jackson McMurray?
And then I'm screaming in the bathroom.
Yeah.
My name is Adeline McMurray.
Yeah, anyway, this is No Nerds Allowed, a bad podcast.
And I'm like trying to push my body through a really tiny window, and you're like kind of afraid that I'm gonna get like stuck or dislocate my shoulder. So then I go back into the bathroom, and then you're like, oh no, how's she gonna? Jackson's gonna kill her with an axe. You know.
The Shining's a good movie.
The Shining's a great movie.
You ever thought about how The Shining's like a super good movie?
Did you? I think The Shining's a good movie. Watched The Shining? Have you ever just like sat down and watched it? It's a good movie.
Good flick, good flick. Okay, so here's something that I want to talk about at the beginning, just briefly. Okay. So there's been a lot of updates on the Marvel movies front the last few weeks, including what I think is the coolest thing in the world, which is that like 30-second Super Bowl trailer for 3 different TV shows.
I know. I really hope that WandaVision is just like a sitcom. I don't want it to have like a real plot. I just want it to be a sitcom.
You just want it to be...
I just want it to be the Dick Van Dyke Show, but it's the Vision and Wanda.
Vision.
Like, that's all I want.
In a flannel shirt, just hanging out.
Yeah, that's all I want.
But, and on top of that, so they announced that Scott Derrickson was not going to direct Doctor Strange 2. He left. He was like, no, I don't want to anymore. And then
I got things I gotta
instead, they brought on fucking Sam Raimi, who's going to take over the project now.
Oh, okay.
Which is the most insane thing that's ever happened, I feel like. Sam Raimi of the original Spider-Man movies and Evil Dead and other great movies.
Do we trust him to make good movies?
Yes, what do you mean? He makes very many great movies.
I guess I just don't like his Spider-Man,
Yeah.
so that makes sense.
See, look. Here's my thing about
It's also
Spider-Man.
not the 90s anymore, so it's fine.
Right. Here's my thing about Spider-Man. I spent a really long time on this crusade about how they're actually not good, right?
Yeah.
And really, I don't really think I believe that anymore. Because my big issue with them was mostly that they were pretty campy and a little bit goofy, and just the optics of it were, like, just a little bit bigger than I sort of want out of a superhero movie. But at the end of the day, there's a lot worse things that a movie could be, right?
No. Yeah, no, I don't think the Spider-Man movie... I enjoyed the Spider-Man movies deeply, but I feel like I don't enjoy them the way that they're supposed to be enjoyed.
Right.
And the way that people talk about those movies, they don't think it's good in the way that I think it's good. I think it's good in that it's enjoyable and kind of campy and kind of funny. That because it's Spider-Man, it's Tobey fucking Maguire's Spider-Man.
Right.
How can you take that seriously? It's Tobey fucking Maguire. Anyway.
And I haven't...
But yeah.
I made that
like,
whole
other
video
people,
about
like,
Spider-Man. Or go ahead.
You did. But like other people think that those movies are like really, really good, but like in a serious way.
Right.
And I'm like, you're wrong. And then they get mad at me because they think it's the best film ever made. And I'm like, I gotta leave.
Right. No, yeah, I made that whole Spider-Man movie, which I think... Pretty much.
You made that whole movie? All by yourself? You made that movie?
Video about a movie. I made that whole video about Spider-Man, which I think pretty accurately conveys what I think about it, which is that it's a pretty great movie that I have some issues with. I haven't watched Spider-Man 2 in long enough to have a more adult opinion on it.
Do you remember Spider-Man 3?
Yeah, then Spider-Man 3 is great. Spider-Man 3, my opinion has not changed on Spider-Man 3, by any
Venom
means.
just fucking has a regular voice and is just scrolling on the walls like, hey, do you want to get back at Spider-Man?
Spider-Man 3 is so good.
It's really good.
But anyway, this is something I have this big theory, okay? Because some casting announcements have been made recently. They announced that Christian Bale is going to be in Thor 4. They announced that...
Is he just going to be Thor now?
We don't know. We don't know who he's going to be.
Wait, is Thor 4 going to just be Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
No, I don't think so. Because there is a Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Thor 4 is going to work.
It's Love and Thunder. It's She-Thor. It's Taika Waititi. That whole deal.
Oh, that's right. It's not. Okay, yeah. I understand. I understand.
They announced that Ryan Gosling is going to be in Thor 4. And they announced that Owen Wilson is going to be in the Loki TV show.
As Lightning McQueen.
Presumably. Okay, I have serious theories about all three of these, all right?
Can I just say, am I the only woman on the planet who does not think that Ryan Gosling is not that attractive?
I think you're the only person on the planet who thinks that, Adeline.
He's a little skinny and he's a little dorky.
Yeah, that's
Maybe it's just because I haven't seen The Notebook.
You haven't seen The Notebook? What have you even seen Ryan Gosling in?
Not a lot. I've just seen pictures of him, and then people are like, he's the hottest man alive. And
see, look, he's not like hot like a fucking Chris Evans is, where he's just like fucking jacked and steamy.
You want to make love with him right now.
He's a charismatic and charming guy on screen. He becomes attractive through his work. Anyway.
But that's not what people say. They just say, oh my god, Ryan Gosling.
That's a valid form of attraction, okay. Adeline. Maybe see him in anything.
I have not seen him in anything, and so I do not get it.
Okay.
Listen, Jackson, you can fuck Ryan Gosling all you want. I'm just not interested.
I have theories I want to say. I just want to put this on the record because I want it to be known when I'm super right, okay?
Okay.
Owen Wilson in Loki. The only footage we have of the Loki show... He's wearing a jumpsuit like a prison jumpsuit that says like T something, because it's the time variance police from that one Walt Simonson.
That's
Thor
hilarious.
Run. Yeah, so if
Loki just does like one thing and then immediately gets arrested.
Yeah, he's in time jail.
That would be hilarious.
I think it's gonna be a big time travel story. I mean, that's not really new. They've kind of said it's gonna be that.
I mean, yeah.
But I think Owen Wilson is gonna be Kang the Conqueror. I think he's never gonna have like the goofy purple face or whatever, but he's just gonna be wearing like a nice suit and he's gonna be like, oh hey, what's up, I'm Kang the Conqueror, I'm the Lord of Time and the Emperor of your future and past and present, hey, what's up,
and I'm the Emperor of your ass.
Yeah, exactly. And I that's my big one. I think he's gonna be Kang the Conqueror. I think Christian Bale is gonna be Norman Osborn in Thor 4. Here's why I think that, right? So, Thor, Love and Thunder is based on the She-Thor story in the comics, in which Dario Agger, which is a bad name, but he's this like multi-billionaire who runs the world through his corporate whatever, and he turns into a minotaur when he's angry.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think they're going to take that general idea from that comic book that this movie is based on, but they're going to
switch it with the Green
Goblin. They're going to switch it out with Norman Osborn so they can introduce Norman Osborn as this big giant villain. That's who I think Christian Bale's going to be, and I think Ryan Gosling is going to be a boring regular guy, kind of like Martin Freeman in Black Panther.
Gotcha.
He's going to be like a dude.
I don't know if they would have Green Goblin be a main villain again after the Sam Raimi movies. Like, I don't know. I feel like they would get criticized.
But it would be the big giant Ultimate Comics Hulk Green Goblin instead.
That's true. That one sucks though.
No, it doesn't. It's the best.
That's the one that's in the Spider-Girl comic that I checked out at a library once, except it's not. It's like his son.
Right.
And he's like a big Goblin guy, and she's like torn because it's like her cousin or whatever.
Right.
Anyway.
No, a lot of people do that. That's a classic Green Goblin archetype. Anyway, that hasn't been funny. I just want to put those things on the record so everyone can tell me how smart I am when I'm 100% right. Okay.
It's not funny. I'll say it though.
Anyway.
So Jackson, yes, The Shining.
The Shining. Well, we watched Dr. Sleep today.
But now I just want to watch The Shining.
Yeah, it's true. Shining rules. What do you... Okay, just in general, I haven't caught up with you at all since you watched it. What do you think about this movie?
At first, I was like, it's not going to be as good as The Shining. Like, why would you make a sequel of The Shining?
Right.
And then I stopped being an idiot on Twitter for half a second, and I was like, oh, like, they're doing their own thing, and they're having fun with it, and it's a good, enjoyable movie. And overall, I think it's pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a masterpiece by any standard, but, like, it's a good movie.
I liked this a lot the first time I saw it in theaters. And now the second time, it's got a little bit of a diminishing return for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just too slow a lot of the time.
Yeah, there are definitely some parts that I don't like. And I think the pacing is weird. We're jumping around to a lot of things, and it's not always super cohesive.
Right. But, yeah, I don't know. Because, okay, so here's like, the big thing about this movie. Is that Stephen King wrote The Shining, right? Back in the 70s. And then Stanley Kubrick was like, oh, hey, what's up? I'm going to make a movie about that. And then he did.
And Stephen King was like, fuck you.
Yeah, he did, and he made it kind of different. Not even really that different, just like a little bit different. And Stephen King lost his shit about it.
And I mean, Stanley Kubrick did do a lot in like the details, but like overall, like he just kind of changed how Jack dies, and that's kind of
right. He changes the ending, and he like leaves out a bunch of stuff, which is for the better. The kind of stuff he leaves out is like when Jack gets attacked by hedge animals. It's like, no, that would have been fucking stupid in that movie.
Somebody said this, and I can't remember who it is, but I thought it was hilarious. They said, listen, like, Stephen King did coke, and sometimes it really worked, and sometimes it didn't.
Right. No, yeah. Because, the things that he leaves out are just stupid. It's like, oh, the hedge animals come alive and attack Jack. It's like, that would be fucking dumb. And it's like, oh, Jack gets attacked by a swarm of angry bees that come out of nowhere in the hotel. It's like, that's also stupid. And just in general, it's a lot more in-depth about the history of the hotel and who the ghosts are and all that kind of stuff. Which The Shining...
Which is interesting, but it's a movie and we gotta do things.
Exactly. Well, which The Shining doesn't show you kind of on purpose. That makes it scarier that you don't know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is probably what my biggest criticism of this movie is that I feel like... It's not even that they tell you too much. It just feels like... What was cool about The Shining is that you didn't really know what was going on with Danny and with The Shining, and like we used it so little that when we did get like a look into like what was actually happening, it was like scary,
right?
And like how the hotel is affecting people. And this one, like The Shining, is just magic. We're just jumping around and doing wizards and flying through the sky.
Right.
That shot where Rose is like flying through the sky to find Abra.
Yeah, I kind of hate that sequence. Yeah, no, I don't like it one bit.
But
But here's what I'm getting to is that like 30 years later, in like 2012, I think, Stephen King was like, yo, I'm gonna write a sequel to The Shining because it's my book and I could do that if I want to. And everyone was like,
because it's 2012 and I would like some more money, please.
Yeah, exactly. As if Stephen King's hurting for money. You want to know how many movies have come out in the last, I don't know, month and a half
is
based
Pennywise
on Stephen
standing
King?
Directly behind me.
Yeah. So he does that and people are like, this is pretty okay. It's not like incredible, but we're like, this is fine. You can do that if you want. And but the thing about it is that it's a sequel to the book, which ends very differently from the movie, right?
Yes.
So Dr. Sleep making a adaptation of Dr. Sleep that is also a sequel to The Shining is tricky, because they're not the same. They're not the same thing. So you have to sort of...
This one was a sequel to the movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because it would have to be because the hotel explodes in the other one, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's both. It is a sequel to The Shining, and it is also an adaptation of Dr. Sleep. It's the same story. And, they do a really interesting job of it. I haven't read Dr. Sleep. I have read The Shining, though. The biggest thing, really, is that at the end of The Shining, the boiler explodes, and the Overlook burns to the ground as they leave, and that's how Jack dies, as he's inside of it as it goes down. And so from what I've been told, the very end of this movie, the climax takes place inside the Overlook Hotel. And apparently in the book, Dr. Sleep, they play that same story element where they're like, oh, we have to go back because it's this powerful zone where I have good psychic stuff.
I have magic powers, but more so than I always do.
Right. But apparently it's still the same, but they just go and it's like a campground now where it used to be. And they're like, oh, check it out. This is where the Overlook was. And it's kind of like a field, and that's where the big climax happens. I'm sure it's fine. I don't know.
I'm sure it's better than you're describing.
Right, exactly. But yeah, and it's so cool that you get to see the Overlook Hotel explode because of the boiler at the end of this.
I know, that's very nice. Like, the second that we got there and he, like, goes to the boiler room, I'm like, oh, we're blowing
it up. It's so good. I love that about it. But yeah, so, what are the things, if we're just going to start going through,
yeah.
This is the second time that Warner Brothers has pulled that, like, old school logo thing. The first one being the Joker, which we already watched.
This movie's got a little bit too much of nostalgia effect for me. Like The Shining does have some of that too, but that makes sense because we're like in an old hotel and we're talking about its whole past and talking about all the ghosts that live here. So it made sense for it to have like remnants of the past in the music and in design and stuff like that. Like that makes a lot of sense. But then when the girl goes to the movies and they're just fucking watching Casablanca for no fucking reason.
Right.
And they're always playing, and it makes sense with the bad guys too, because they're like from the past. So them listening to old music makes sense after they tell you that they're from the past. But like, it's just the Casablanca thing. What fucking movie theater,
right,
in the year of our Lord 2011 is playing Casablanca? Just
that happens
randomly.
Yeah, there's small movie theaters that do screenings and stuff.
But it's stupid. I hate it.
Okay, but I don't know. For me, I think the nostalgia factor of this movie is about the same as, like, The Force Awakens, which is, like, it's just a little bit too much. It's not, like, really annoying, but it's just, like, a touch too far to me. Like, I don't like when Ewan McGregor has the meeting with the pastor, and it's, like, the office from the beginning of The Shining. That
just didn't make sense.
I hated that. I was like, why would it look exactly the same as that other office? This, like, I get what you're doing, but it's stupid.
And it's not even, like, a parallel to, like, what was happening in the scene.
Right.
It's just this weird
It's a totally
detail.
different exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is, like, him, like, getting the job, and we're, like, learning who Jack is, and it's, like, the beginning of his descent.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this movie, he just, like, talks to the pastor, the doctor, and then he leaves.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I don't know, and it's just, like, I don't know, on the one hand, it does kind of feel good, but it's also just, like, I wouldn't have been sad if you didn't do that, you know?
Well, when they did it, and I, like, immediately noticed it was the same room.
Right.
I think they thought that I wouldn't notice, and I would find it, like, next time and be like, oh, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
But because I noticed it the first time, I expected it to mean something, and then it didn't, and then I was disappointed. Like, I think it was meant to be more of an Easter egg than a plot element, and I wish they had used it as a plot element, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and I think, you know, the thing about The Shining is that, like, practically every single instant of it is just completely iconic, right? Like, you recognize... Yeah. Name a more iconic duo. I'll wait.
Stanley Kubrick is an insane person.
And it's just... like, and, you know, they take advantage of that really well, because every time they're showing you things, like, the great example, not to skip around too much, but when you get to the end and you're in the Overlook Hotel, it is insane how immediately familiar that space feels when you're watching it, but also, like, they go out of their way to only, I don't know if only, but for the most part, only use... like, shots and setups from The Shining, right? They're not shooting it their own way in the space. They're completely aping, like, the lens choice and where the camera is from shots from The Shining and just putting different things in it, you know? And it has a really, really powerful effect on you as a viewer, especially if you have seen The Shining 800 times, like I have, you know?
Not to, you know...
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. And the rest of the movie does a really good job of sort of borrowing from Kubrick's, like, visual style without totally ripping it off, you know?
I guess what I think is weird, what makes this movie feel kind of, like, in a disarray, like, it's a very, like, kind of strewn about mismatchy kind of movie.
Right.
And I think it is because they steal those shots directly from The Shining. Because when you're in the Overlook Hotel, it's super cool because you notice all those shots that you've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
But then the rest of the movie is just, like, not like that at all. And, like, doesn't have even the same feeling of that at all.
Right.
Because, I mean, with The Shining movie, we're going to keep comparing this movie to The Shining because you have to, because it's a sequel to The Shining. But, like, it's because, like, The Shining has such a mastery of tone and, like, this, like, such a slow descent into madness. It's just done so well. And, like, the same location and this tone that just gets more and more severe as, like, the movie goes on.
Right.
It's crazy. And then this movie just doesn't do that at all in any capacity. It's just a regular movie, and then there's some horror bits, and then we get to the Overlook Hotel, and then it's The Shining again. And it feels weird. And I get that that's a little bit intentional, but because they are just copying something from another film, it doesn't feel as intentional, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I disagree, because it really is using a lot of the same techniques from The Shining throughout the whole movie. It just doesn't feel as explicit because it's not literally the same shot from The Shining the rest of the time, right?
The one thing that I am mad about is the way that they use the blood coming out of the elevator, which is to say that they don't. You wanted the blood to come out of the elevator and wash Rebecca Ferguson away at the end? No, I wanted it. If you're not gonna fucking do anything, she just like fucking looks at it and then turns away. Like
that's what happens in The Shining.
But that's different. You can't just show me that thing that we've never... Like, that... God, they just show it to you. And then they're like, well, that was weird. Remember that from The Shining? And I'm like, yes, I'm upset.
So you're saying...
Use it.
You're saying the blood should have come out of the elevator and knocked somebody over and...
No, I'm saying that Rose should have reacted more to that. Because she doesn't know what the Overlook Hotel is. She's just like, what's up with this weird hotel?
Right.
So when she turns the corner and blood starts pouring out of the elevator, she should be like, ho, where the fuck are we? Instead, she just, like, looks at it and then turns around like, every hotel I've ever been to has had blood coming out of the elevator doors. I don't give a shit about any of this.
Okay, first of all, you understand that there's not literally blood coming out of the elevator, right?
I know there's not literally blood coming out of the elevator. I'm saying
I'm just checking.
that she's picking up on the weird shit that's a part of this hotel, and she's just like, whatever, moving on.
Okay.
I should have reacted more to it. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's fair. I've been grilling you for too long about it. It's okay. What was I gonna say? Oh, but yeah, like the moments that really stand out to me are like right at the beginning. There's that certain camera movement that's just like a really abrupt like swing and then stop that they do in The Shining that gets used a handful of times, especially at the beginning. And also those like drone shots they do, which Stanley Kubrick does in The Shining, but they weren't drone shots back then, obviously.
It was the whole ass helicopter.
Right. Well, no, it wasn't even a helicopter because the part where it stands out is the maze, right? And that shot where they, like, pull up from where you are to, like, show the whole thing. Or no, you're not pulling up. You're coming down towards them. But there's, I don't know, probably about 50 feet of a real maze. And then the rest of it around it is a miniature. That's, like, edited with perspective. But it's interesting because that is, I think, one of the very few scenes in The Shining where you can kind of see the seams of the filmmaking, you know? Like, it looks great, but if you look at it, you can tell, like, oh, yeah, that's how they did it. There's the outside is miniatures and the inside is real. But they're able to literally practically do something that Stanley Kubrick wasn't able to do. They're able to put a camera on a drone and play with that same sort of language, you know. But they don't have to use visual effects. They could just do it for real, which I think is fascinating. And just because, on the subject of visual effects, I love that they just brought in actors to play the old roles instead of doing some bullshit where they recreate or de-age somebody.
The very first time that you saw little Danny, it did catch me off guard a little bit. I was like, that's not that's not Danny. But then I just accepted it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we're just having actors. But that's fine. Like, after I accepted it, it was totally fine. The first time it was a little bit like, hey, I see what you're doing, movie.
Right, yeah.
That's not actually Danny.
But yeah, I don't know, and it just asks you to be like, hey, suspend your disbelief. They're the same guys. And you just have to be like, okay. Rather than trying to literally convince you that they are the same person with billions of dollars in visual effects research that look okay, you know? Like, I it's so much easier for me to suspend. It's like an Uncanny Valley thing, right? If you're just like, oh, that's a different guy, cool. You move on totally confidently from where that is. But if you're like...
But when it might be that guy, then you gotta spend like 5 minutes being like, that's not it?
Yeah.
It's not,
And,
right? No, it's not, okay.
But I want to say that everybody who plays a role from The Shining fucking kills it in this movie. It's insane. I literally, the guy who plays Dick Halloran, I would maybe not have even noticed it was not Scatman Crothers if you were just for like, this is a deleted scene from The Shining. He like looks enough like Scatman Crothers and sounds enough like him. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's him. That's Scatman Crothers.
The only one that I think isn't the best is maybe the guy who's playing Jack Nicholson.
Right.
And I think that's just because it's Jack Nicholson, and how could you?
Right.
How could you?
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Well, because we all know that Jackson can't. So,
no, I could do it. I could have been him.
Honestly, it was the hair. Like, it...
Right.
Like, there's something weird about the hair. Like, it's a very specific hairstyle that looked fine on Jack Nicholson because it was just, like, his hair. But then they, like, tried to put that same hair on a guy, and it just, like, I don't know why that's what made it not him, but that's what made it not him.
I would posit, though, that you knew who it was supposed to be. It's a different guy wearing a totally different outfit than you've ever seen that character in before. And you still see him, and you go, oh, that's Jack Torrance, that's the dad, that's Jack Nicholson. I think that's a success in and of itself. I mean...
No, totally. Yeah. No, it gets the point across. I'm just saying that, like... I'm just saying.
Right. I also... The woman who plays Wendy is doing, like, the most perfect recreation of...
I know. When she recreates her, like, screaming when the axe comes through the door, like, it's like, oh, it looks so close.
And it's
like,
insane.
I want to see someone, like, put those two, like, right next to each other, because it looks like it's the same shot, and then you realize that it's not, and it's weird.
Right. And her performance is good enough that it, like, eases you into it really successfully, right? And, like, because, like, you see it the first time, and you're like, oh, that's not Shelley Duvall. I know what it's supposed to look like. And then, like, she is doing this vocal performance that sounds so much fucking like Shelley Duvall that you're immediately just like, oh no, this rules actually. I'm actually all in on this.
Like when she like runs out to like go see Danny and she just like, she says Danny just like the exact way that she says it. And it's so good.
It's so crazy.
Can we talk about how that girl isn't 15?
Which girl? Oh,
the
I don't know.
girl that they turned, she's not 15 years old.
If you say so.
She's not. She was like, how old are you? She's like, she's not 15.
Okay,
anyway.
well, let's see. Let's see what IMDb has to say. Maybe you're going to eat your words.
She's just a very mature-looking 15-year-old.
Could be. Let's see.
She looked like she was 19 years old.
I'm going to see. You're going to be embarrassed when whatever happens. Let's see.
Wow, this is really interesting.
Snakebite Andy. She is 1 year younger than you. Which means when she was filming this, she was probably 16.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I was right.
Nuh-uh.
Fuck you.
I was, nuh-uh. What?
I'm right.
I just proved you right.
15.
She was, okay. Bouquet. She was 16. She was 16. I also thought she was Chloe Grace Moretz for a really long time, but she's not. Hey, I want to talk about Rise of Skywalker again.
No, Jackson.
This is episode 3 of Jackson asks Adeline what happens in Rise of Skywalker.
So you haven't seen it yet?
No. I just want to know, just real quick, does Lando say anything about the fact that his girlfriend is the Millennium Falcon?
No, they don't. No. No.
They just ruined every part of it, right? Like, why don't you let Lando fuck the Millennium Falcon?
Yeah, why not, Lucas?
Did you see Solo ever?
No, I know that he has a robot girlfriend that wants rights, and he's like,
Right.
whatever, babe.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I watched Solo again today just because I wanted to.
Okay.
Because I'm in deep Star Wars mode right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just gobbling it up.
Just goblin.
And the thing about Solo is that, like, it kind of kicks ass for, like, 45 minutes. And then there's, like, 2 hours left of the movie after that just isn't good anymore.
Like, what do we do now?
Yeah. Because, like, it has, I don't know, it's just dumb. And Lando rules. Lando's good. And he just has this really good energy whenever they're talking about his robot girlfriend. That he's just always like, oh, yeah, we're going to go somewhere. That's cool. Hold on. Let me go find my girlfriend. I don't know what she's doing. She's a robot. Don't ask about it.
This is my girlfriend. She's a robot. That's all you need to know.
I don't have answers for any questions you have.
My
I would also like
girlfriend,
to
the
know.
robot. How does that work? I have to go find her. My girlfriend, the robot.
Whatever.
The robot that's my girlfriend. I can't hear you. I can't hear you over the sound of the mechanical whirring, which is my girlfriend. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
And they try to make a gag out of it a little bit, where one of the other characters is like, so you guys are, like, together? And she's like, yeah. And the girl's like, well, how does that, like, work? And she's like, oh, it works. And that's, like, that's, like, all they do.
Oh, the worst. I hate it.
Good, though. It's good, though. I love it.
Lando will stick his penis in anything.
Yeah. Which is why I think, because Han Solo steals the ship right afterwards, and the girlfriend's in it, the robot's in the Millennium Falcon.
Like, she's on it, or, like, she's in it?
No, she's, like, in it in the computer system. Because she
Okay.
dies, so they, like, upload her to the Millennium Falcon. Because haven't you always wondered why the Millennium Falcon is such an interesting and quirky spaceship? That's why. It's because there's a person inside of it who's trapped there forever, I guess. Whatever.
That's stupid. That's
Anyway.
like when they were like, do you want to know who the TARDIS's personality is?
Right.
And I'm like, no, I don't.
And, like, so Lando Calrissian's girlfriend dies.
Yeah.
But she survives through this ship. And then immediately Han Solo just fucking steals it from him.
Yeah,
and goes away. Like,
that's what bros do.
Doesn't Lando fly the Millennium Falcon in Return of the Jedi?
Yes.
Okay. So probably he got to fuck the Millennium Falcon then, off screen.
At some point.
I would assume.
No, there's like been like 20 years off screen. I'm sure at some point.
At some point, Lando got to fuck the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. No, I was going to say something. I forgot what it was.
Was it about Billy D. Williams' penis?
No, it's just because he's like an old man in the movies now. So now
Right.
we don't want to talk about the fact that he fucked a robot. We don't want to talk about it
Yeah,
anymore.
he can't be horny anymore because now it makes
it's
people
all fun and
uncomfortable.
games with like. I think he
when
does.
it's Donald
flirt.
Glover.
I think he does flirt with Leia, but
Right.
she's also old, so like it's fine.
Right. Okay, so speaking of
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
I gotta say that scene with like the cat and like the old man dying, that got me. That got me good.
That's such a really upsetting scene. No,
It
and
is.
I have this weird thesis about this movie because really what it's about at its heart is that it's about like a fear of death, right? And like how far people are willing to go to avoid it, you know? But at its heart, Ewan McGregor's character, Danny, sort of embodies this idea that death isn't really that scary, you know? He tells people, like, we do go on, there is something beyond this world, and I don't know what it is necessarily, but you don't have that to be afraid of, you know? But at the same time, the movie also goes really far out of its way to make death really upsetting. Anytime somebody dies in the movie, it's never, like, peaceful and chill and okay. It's always, like, really deeply unnerving and upsetting to you as a viewer, whether that's the old men in the hospital or the kids who get killed or any of the true knot who get vaporized, you know? What?
They get that knot out.
They...
Anyway. Well, I didn't see the old man dying as disturbing. I just saw it as sad. Like, it got me that way, and that it was very sad. I did not find it disturbing. I thought it was very nice. It's one of the few very nice deaths that we get, is, like, the old people that he gets to send off. And I think that's part of that, like, thesis. I think they're saying that death is something that you don't have to be afraid of.
Right.
And it can be scary, and there is something terrible about dying before your time and like having your time stolen from you or whatever. But like you're saying, like, it's not something that has to be scary. And the one thing that because when we get back into the Shining Hotel, into the Overlook Hotel, and all the like bad ghosts are back, why are the two little girls grouped in with all the bad ghosts? They just got murdered. It's not their fault.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess all the ghosts at the Shining, at the hotel,
alone.
At the Hotel Shining.
Welcome to the Hotel Shining.
I guess you're right. I don't know. But in The Shining, the subtext is still that they're malevolent forces, right? Regardless of like who they were in life, they're still no good.
In The Shining, I never read them as like malevolent either. I just read them as people that were also trapped there, like Danny was trapped there.
Right.
Like, because it's the parallel of like they were murdered by their dad, and that's who motivates Jack to kill his children, is their dad. So I always saw them as like, even though like they're scary and they're ghosts, like them saying "come play with us forever" isn't like mean. It's like they're like, your dad's gonna kill you, do you want to just hang out? Like, that's always how I interpreted it. But I don't like scary ghosts. I just want ghosts to be nice. That's all I want.
You've posited this before.
Just let ghosts be nice. Leave them alone.
I mean, look, there's plenty of nice ghost movies. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, for instance,
is a nice ghost movie.
Hey, let's talk about Rise of Skywalker a little bit more.
Hold on. Well, 'cause when they...
No, I don't actually have anything to say.
Okay, great. When they get back to the Shining Hotel, I'm gonna keep calling it the Shining Hotel because
right.
I'm a 3-year-old, but like I kind of wanted him to like kind of come in there with like a little bit of like a personality. Like I wanted it to be like coming back to like see people that he knew. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could have played it up where he's got, like, a fun relationship with the hotel, but instead they don't. And I understand why. But I kind of wanted him to be in there and be, like, kind of like, what's up, assholes? Like, how it's been? And, like, kind of, like, smirk at things when things get creepy because, like, he knows it. And I know that's a choice. And I understand why they didn't make that choice. I'm just saying that's what I would want in my happy ghost movie.
Right. But also, the ghosts aren't there anymore. They're all stuck in his noggin. They're all up there. In their coffins, in their noggin coffins.
When he, like, walks into it and, like, the lights, like, come on, like, above him, I wanted him to, like, have, like, a funny reaction or, like, smirk or be, like,
oh, yeah. Okay, that would have been fun.
Good to see you again. Like, something like that.
Right. Because he's bested it.
Because he's an adult now.
The hotel.
He's just not as scared of it as he was when he was a kid.
Right.
He can, like, come back on it with, like, a new perspective. I think that would have been fun.
That could have been cool.
That's what I want.
Okay. I just have a bone to pick with culture at large real quick, which is that I've heard a whole bunch of people say that this movie looks like television or like Netflix, which is not true, first of all.
Okay.
Second of all, they say that because this director directed 2 Netflix original movies that were
just mean.
Moderately well received. But that's what, I don't think they know it, but that's what they're comparing it to. They're just saying that stuff is worse because it was on Netflix. And they're like, oh, this looks like that other stuff which was on Netflix, so I'm going to talk shit about it because of that, which is asinine. It's stupid.
I mean, people have always been like that with, like, TV. Like, people have always seen TV as, like, a secondary form of filmography art, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like the position that, like, TV has gone into of, like, you can, like, do, like, really artistic things with television is, like, a new thing that, like, for the longest time, like, television wasn't art, and it's, like, only now becoming, like, accepted as art.
Yeah. And I don't know, and it's such a weird...
This is completely unrelated. I am so tired of all y'all shitting on sitcoms, like The Big Bang Theory and stuff like that. Because that's like the closest thing that we have to Shakespearean plays nowadays, and I want all y'all to sit the fuck down. Like,
do you want to elaborate on that take?
yeah, because the whole thing with Shakespearean plays is that they would have like a play a week, and you only had so many days to like learn all the lines, and you memorize all the lines, and you would perform the play while learning the next play, and then you would keep going. And like that's very much to what the actors on sitcoms have to do, where they have to memorize all of the lines in a very short amount of time in order to get them out. I'm not saying that every single sitcom is a work of Shakespeare. I'm just saying they're
right.
I'm saying it's an art form, and I feel like people don't respect it as any kind of art form. And it does have its similarities to Shakespearean plays, the way that they did it as like as a production. I think people are always shitting on sitcoms, and I'm tired of it.
I think you're right. I just also think that just because something is old doesn't make it good. You feel me?
Wait, are you talking about Shakespeare now?
No, I'm talking about sitcoms. I don't know. I just think, like, I don't know. It's something that I always feel like is people, like, always want to, like, protect, like, formats and genres that they love when they fall out of...
They're like, the sit-down sitcom is dead. And it's like, first of all...
But it's like, I don't know. I think people have the right to not care about things anymore, you know? If the multicam sitcom's going to go out of style, it's going to go out of style. I don't think it's wrong to stop caring about it, you know?
No, I'm just
It's kind of like clowns. Everyone's like, oh, the clown industry's going out of business. It's like, I don't know, go fuck yourself. We don't like them anymore. Like, sorry, you don't get to do that anymore.
Jackson.
But, like, I don't know. If nobody wants to see them, I don't know, bummer. Sorry. See ya. See you later.
I just think, I don't think, whoa. People love to shit on the Big Bang Theory, and I think sometimes it deserves it, and then I think sometimes people are just want to be angry about things.
Yeah, no.
And so, like,
Big
I
Bang
feel like
Theory is not that bad.
I would probably dislike the Bing Bongo Theory a lot more if I wasn't always having to defend it against people that just hate it for no reason.
I love that you almost just said Bing Bong Theory completely on accident.
Whatever the fuck it is, I think it's called spoonerism. Whatever it is where you like mix up words in your head like that, I think I have that, and I think send help.
No, yeah. I mean, look, I don't think Big Bang Theory is that bad either. We're kind of on the same page about that.
Yeah.
I just want to say the last time I said that on the podcast, though, you made fun of me. Is all, but whatever. That? I don't remember when it was, but I remember it. It's a deep trauma within me that I said Big Bang Theory is not that bad.
I've always said that the Bingo Bongo Theory is never that bad.
It's not horrible.
It's not horrible. Like, it's got problems, but, like, it's no different than any other problem that any other sitcom has ever had in the history of forever.
You ever think about how Friends, it's just crazy that we're all into Friends again now in the 21st century? Why is that?
Like, it made sense in the 90s when we didn't know any better, but now that we do know better, we're just like, it's from its time, it's fine. Yeah. Like, it seems like we all know that it's bad sometimes, but, like, we've just all accepted it, and we're like, it's fine, though. And I'm in that boat. I really like Friends.
Right. No, yeah, no, Friends is great.
Friends is hilarious. I really like Friends. I like but it's from the 90s, so sometimes they're very homophobic and sometimes they're very fat phobic, and you just gotta get over it and move on.
Yeah. I mean, look, okay, here's my big take about Friends right now. It became a huge cultural phenomenon again, like 5 years ago, because it got put on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no other thing you could pretend it was. It was because it went on Netflix and people had easy access to it. They got excited about it, and it became suddenly an inextricable part of the identity of a generation, right? Again, a second time. Just because you put it on Netflix, which is insane. Which is why I don't understand why you would ever have a TV show and not put it on a streaming service. Yeah. So much of what we talk about as a culture right now is based on what's on streaming services. And the reason that Modern Family, I think specifically, is just a random example, isn't like as much a part of the conversation as some other TV shows that are equally good or not good, whatever. I don't know. I don't feel that strongly about Modern Family.
Okay.
But, like, it's not easily accessible, so people aren't into it. And I think if they just took Modern Family and put it on Netflix, it would suddenly have an enormous comeback.
Yeah. I think it's because streaming services are so new that it's taking some people a while to realize that they could be making so much more money by just putting it on Netflix. Because I think what the deterrent is they're like, oh, Netflix is making so much money off of us. But, like, you are also making a lot of money and will have a lot of people watching your show. Because when you take it off, like, TBS is, like, plays Friends, like, all day long on live television.
Right.
So what I do is I go on Hulu and I set it to record. And then I watch it on Hulu whenever I want to.
Right.
So,
well, wait, why don't you just watch it on Netflix?
Because it's not on Netflix anymore.
Oh, that's right, because it's going to be on Peacock. No, it's not even going to be on Peacock.
Oh, it's going to be on Peacock?
It's going to be on
Peacock,
HBO
man.
Max.
I don't want to get HBO. I've heard that the Ghibli movies are either going to be on Netflix or on HBO Max.
No, they're going to be on Netflix in other countries, but the US rights are going to HBO Max.
That's fucking stupid. I gotta fucking buy HBO fucking Max.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Fuck
HBO
that.
Max somehow, I don't know how this shook out the way that it did, because Friends is an NBC show. But somehow HBO Max got the rights to it instead of NBC's own streaming service, right?
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know how that shook out. But yeah, so Peacock is going to have Parks and Rec, and I think Netflix managed to keep The Office, but they're taking Parks and Rec and putting it on Peacock, and Seinfeld is going to be on Peacock also. Those are the things that they're latching on to.
Is Seinfeld even on anything?
It's on Hulu right now, but I think once it gets on Peacock, it's just going to switch over.
Gotcha. And Peacock is maybe going to have the Adventure Zone cartoons. So
right, yeah.
Be cool.
No, I saw that they ordered a pilot for Adventure Zone.
Yeah. If they do that, I'll buy it. If they don't do that, I'm going to really grit my teeth and be like, I don't know about this.
I'm really fascinated by this whole streaming wars thing. I get Apple TV Plus for free with my Apple Music subscription.
Yeah.
And
they got a lot of weird stuff.
Apple TV Plus is the most interesting one to me. Because they don't have any licensed content, right?
Yeah.
You're signing up, and the only thing you're getting is Apple TV Plus original shows. I watched Dickinson for a little while. I never finished it, but that was pretty okay. I was medium into it. I was not into it enough to finish it, but I watched it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And now the M. Night Shyamalan show, Servant, I'm kind of into. I haven't finished that yet either, but I'm working my way through it slowly.
Cool.
But they've got, like, a pretty big lineup of original stuff that's rolling out really regularly, which I think is fascinating. And I have to wonder if it's going to have legs as a service just because they don't have whatever, Seinfeld, or you can't get on there and watch Modern Family.
Yeah, the reason that Netflix makes so much money and, like, can do no wrong with their original content is because their original content has to be so bad that you would unsubscribe from the service altogether.
Right.
So they never lose any money, no matter, like, how much something, like, flops. Like, it doesn't matter. They're not losing any money off of it.
Right.
But I think when you have all original content, I think you do lose some of your, like, rewatchability. Like, I just, like, sit down and I just, like, watch a TV show just, like, on in the background. I just, like, always have The Office on or Friends or whatever.
Right.
But if you have, like, original content, if it's not like that, if I'm not gonna rewatch your original content, then I think at some point you are going to lose subscribers if what you're making is not good, you know?
Yeah, no. And that's what's tricky about Apple TV is that the things they have, at least at launch, they've launched a whole bunch of new stuff since then, but they had that Jason Momoa show that was like kind of a Bird Box thing, but it was like
Jason
a society.
Momoa.
A society where everyone's blind, but one man can see and it's post-apocalyptic and whatever. And everybody said that sucked. And then they had that show with fucking Steve Carell and Jennifer Aniston about a morning show. That was like a drama that everybody hated.
Oh,
and
yeah, nobody liked that.
A show that nobody cared about astronauts that nobody really liked. And then Dickinson, which people were like a little bit into, but it was not at all popular. So like, they just didn't have anything that anybody cared about at launch. So like, I don't think anybody really signed up for it. But I don't know. I guess we'll just see if they're going to step up their game as they move forward and if that's going to continue to be. Because I've been watching that M. Night Shyamalan show. It's pretty good. I always forget the title of it because it's a bad title. It's called Servant. But like, I've been invested in that. So I don't know. I wonder, but if I had to pay for it, I definitely wouldn't.
I am only here because it is free.
Exactly. Yeah. So I have to wonder in the next year or two if they're going to be like, oh, we got fucking Quentin Tarantino to direct a limited series starring Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. That's right, bitch.
Yeah.
They're back together. Like, just see if they pull something like that, or if they're going to be like, we have a limited series starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
About dogs.
The pitch is Joseph Gordon-Levitt has a dog, and they become unlikely friends.
Through the eyes of a dog.
So, I don't know. I'm just really curious to see how that goes. Anyway, Dr. Sleep, directed by Mike Flanagan.
I thought you were going to say Michael Bay, and I was like, incorrect.
I like that they spend so much time in this movie, just like...
I have a point.
Getting... What?
Nothing.
Okay. Just getting you acquainted with Dan and his life and like what his deal is. Like before the plot even kicks in at all, you spend a good 15 or 20 minutes being like, here's Dan. It hasn't been going so good for him, but here's the story of where he lives now and how he kind of turned it around. And now he's doing better. And it feels good when he like gets into Alcoholics Anonymous and like builds a happy life for himself.
That scene though with the dead mom and the baby is like hardcore. Hauntingly good.
Yeah.
But we kind of just move on from it. Like there's never any closure about that. And that feels really weird, especially with this movie's relationship about death. Because like she's not like angry. She seems kind of desperate for him to help her, and then I kind of want him to like make a phone call to somebody and be like, hey, I think she's dead, because she says like they haven't found us yet. So I feel like, especially like with his connection to like the other side, I feel like he should have done something, and it was weird that he didn't.
Right. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just trying to think through that emotional bit and what I would have done with it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a little bit vague because you don't necessarily know what the ghost wants from him, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't know what the ghost's motivation is for showing up and saying they haven't found us yet. Besides that, maybe she wants to be found and buried, right? I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because she's a ghost. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's so effective, especially having seen that, and also just the scene where he wakes up in the bed the first time and Dick Halloran's just like, "Yo, dog, don't steal her money." That's why.
It's because you know that it's not really his fault that she died, but you know that he could have done something to keep her from dying and left instead. Mm-hmm. Like when that whole scene where he wakes up and he like throws up and he like gets the money, and like the baby wakes up and he just kind of like puts the baby by the mom because he doesn't really know what to do. Right. Like it's kind of comedic and like how horrible everything is. Right. Yeah. And then to have that like come around and be like, hey dog, she's fucking dead now. It's been like 2 days and she's dead now. Like it's just really, really harsh and really effective. And then I feel like we just move on too quickly. Like I need some kind of closure with that. You know?
No, totally. I don't think it's meant to be implied that she like dies like immediately afterwards. I think it's just something else later, right? I don't know.
I interpret it as like she dies because of something that was affecting her while Dan was still there, you know? Right, yeah. And then it's like he leaves and she dies, and then the baby dies because she's dead. And there's no way to take care of it. Because she talks about like how he cries and no one came because they're used to him crying. Right.
I guess. I'm just trying to remember the timeline, like when it actually shows up and how long it takes him to like go over there and get an apartment or whatever. I don't know.
Also, and especially because she's naked as a ghost.
Oh, that's true.
What I was like, she died really soon.
That she died like right there. Yeah, it could be. Anyway, I think it's hilarious how much apartments cost in movies.
Yeah, $85 a week. That's great. Or a month.
Oh wait, she said week?
No, I think she said a month. I think I just
right, because $85 a month is insane. I mean, I'm not gonna like dox my financial numbers right now, but I'm not paying $85 a month for my apartment right now.
Gotta say.
And like, what they're trying to say is like, oh, it's a really small town, so the price of living is low and whatever. But like, I also live in a very small town, and like, dog, you're not gonna get $85 a month anywhere, especially considering how dope that apartment is. It rules.
Yeah, that's a dope. She's like, he's got this stupid chalkboard wall, and I'm like, that's dope as hell. I have one of those, and it's dope as hell.
And I love the chalkboard wall as an idea because
and how they use it.
Yeah, because it never changes, right? Like. They every time they write something on it, it like stays there for the rest of the story. So it serves as what are you laughing about?
I know it's like a plot point and it's very dramatic when it actually happens, but I'm just thinking about baseball boy.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of funny. But it like serves as this like physical like log of their interactions, you know? I just think it's kind of cool. And it like shows you
cool
that
it's like they use it as like a metaphorical wall that Danny has kind of like put up like against like his shining,
right?
Because he like instead of shining he communicates her this way, and then once he's like, okay, I have to shine, then he stops using the chalkboard altogether and he starts using his shining. So I think it's really cool how they use it as like an actual barrier,
right?
Like between the thing that I said.
Right, no, I get you. Also, since we're, I don't know, I guess we're kind of near the baseball boy death scene, there's a quote that somebody who worked on the production said that when Jacob Tremblay showed up for that day, he's the boy. He's like this famous child actor right now who shows up in like all kinds of stuff. But I have to find the quote here. Yeah, so Jacob Tremblay gave this, like, insane, haunting performance as this boy who's being, like, tortured and killed. And everybody on set was like, oh, my God, that was fucking hardcore. Like, should we, like, he needs a break, maybe. And then he, quote, got up, high-fived his dad, and went straight to craft services. Which is just so good. I just love that so much.
Good. High-fived his dad and went straight to craft services.
He earned those craft services. Good on you, Jacob.
Get himself a fucking donut. Yeah. That's so good.
I like the moment where Rose the Hat. Okay, actually, first of all, I don't know how I feel about like the names and the gimmicks of all the ladies in the True Not ladies, people. They're not all ladies.
Yeah, I overall I really like the villains. Right. I like the idea of these like immortal. It's all very magical BS, way more than the original Shining is. But once you just accept it, it's fine. Like I like the idea of like these like ageless guys that like hunt down people with magic powers and eat their magic powers. Like I like that. I like that they like actually have a relationship to each other. And then I think it's kind of cool that they're like a caravan. But yeah, like, it's them having all, like, weird names just feels like a stupid bullshit Harry Potter rule that they just don't establish.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh, you can't have your real name. You have to be Snakebite now, you know?
Right, yeah. No, and somebody pointed out...
It's like your warrior cat's name. You have to have your own name.
Right. Somebody described Rebecca Ferguson's performance as, like, how funny it is that she's playing this, like, immortal magical torturer, and she chooses to play it like a single woman at a Steve Miller Band concert. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, that's fun.
It is, it's cool. But I was going to say, I like the sequence in the grocery store.
Because I really like that.
It's this sort of weird, benign area that people don't necessarily use very much in movies, and it's just kind of cool to, like, see something cool and exciting happen in one, you know, and it's just lit like a regular grocery store.
But I really like that, dude, because it puts them back into societal context, because we've seen them do something horrible and atrocious and like with all these magical things, like they're so just like far beyond everything, but they still gotta have toilet paper though, so like it's fun to put them back into the context of society. I think that's cool.
Right. I also like that Abra is just like into anime. I think that's a cool
I know, with all her Ruby
character
posters,
choice, yeah. And then when she's like attacking Rose, she like has green anime hair because that's how she wants to
I noticed
present
that,
herself.
And I was like, that's weird.
It's so fun. I don't know, I think that's cool.
Yeah, no.
And
what was I gonna say?
Go ahead.
Oh, there's that line that they have when there's like the dad's like, we gotta call 911 FBI, And Danny just says, like, he's like, I don't think they're worried about the police. I'm like, that's totally fair. They're, like, magical people or whatever. And he's like, I think they're super rich. They have connections. And there's, like, these people are living out of the backs of, like, RVs. I do not think
Right.
that they are rich with crazy connections. I think they're just magic people who don't give a shit.
Right. I like the moment when Abra and Dan, like, meet for the first time.
Yeah.
And they're, like, in the park. And it's kind of cool because it's, like, kind of fun because they do have this relationship and they want to...
Yeah,
like,
their dynamic is very fun.
yeah, they want to, like, talk to each other. But, like, Dan is also afraid of getting canceled at the same time.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, these days, you know, people, I don't want people to see us like this. It's like, okay, whatever, dude. Like,
Well, it's because there's themes of, like, sex and stuff like that because it's The Shining, and that's
Right.
one of the themes that's in The Shining. They, like, kind of, like, they put, like, seeds of, like, talking about, like, underage sex and, like, rape in that, but then they,
Right.
like, kind of don't. They, like, just, like, kind of put the seeds there and then, like, kind of dance around it, and they're like, actually, never mind. And it's like, okay.
right, yeah.
Understandable, but, you know.
I really like the sequence when Dan is talking to Dick Halloran afterwards, like after he's like met the girl and all that, and he's like,
Yeah.
I just don't understand why it's like my responsibility. Like, why do I have to be the person who's like connected to her and helps her? And Dick is just like, dude, you just walked into my kitchen one day and now it's like 80 years later and I'm still hanging out with you.
Now I'm a fucking ghost and I'm still talking to you.
Yeah, I know. I just think it's really funny, and he's just like, okay, yeah, I guess that's fair.
He's like, yeah.
I think he says, you just walked into my kitchen one day and I'm still on the hook. I was like, yeah. I like that line a lot.
I gotta say, I really like the ending of the place burning down and the police, like, coming in the distance as she, like, sits there and she's like, Danny, get out, Danny, get out. I think that's really great, and I think that's where the movie should have ended. I think her talking to Ghost Danny is just kind of stupid because they're trying to do a gotcha moment where it's like, oh, he's dead. You thought he was maybe alive, but he's dead. And it's like, no, first of all, I knew he was dead. Second of all, he just kind of tells her that her powers can be good, which I guess is kind of important. But the fact that he says "shine on" does make me want to die a little bit.
No, it's good. I like that.
Shine on. Keep on shining, Abra. And
He
I'm
says,
like, okay.
Shine bright like a diamond.
Like a diamond. I do like the parallel of her also kicking the shit out of the bathtub witch, because that bitch just
Right.
keeps trying to eat children and she just has no luck with it.
I know. I was gonna say, I like the symmetry of Ewan McGregor being a Force ghost, kind of like how Dick Halloran was for him at the beginning. You know, I don't know. I like the last scene because I like the exchange between the mom and the daughter, where she says to her, like, you know, life goes on and you don't have to be worried about grandma or dad or whatever. Kind of like Ewan McGregor does to the old man in the hospital at the beginning. I don't know. I like that last scene. I think it's good.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just, because it's just, I guess I just kind of want, like, a dramatic ending like The Shining had, like, with that picture of Jack Nicholson, and it's, like, so, like, weird, but you're like, oh, whoa. And then I just feel like we don't get that with this movie, which is fine because it's a different movie, but you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, The Shining ends like right at the action, you know, like it doesn't take an extra 5 minutes to like decompress and like break down what just happened at the end.
It's just like Danny and what's her face get out of there, and then they are out of there. And the movie ends.
Totally. I don't know. I love the whole sequence in the Overlook. I'm not even gonna lie, because it's just
very fun.
And it's so insane how uncanny it feels seeing these, like, frame perfect, like, not frame perfect, that's a stupid phrase to use. These, like, perfectly recreated shots from The Shining with, like, a full production value, but they're just different. Like, everything's all decrepit and old and broken down, and it's weird the, like, psychological effect it has on you, you know?
I do wish that they used the content a little bit better, like what they will have, like, the shots that match, but then the content of what's actually happening in the shots doesn't match at all. Like, they have that super cool exchange where, like, Danny is going up the stairs with the axe, and Rose is, like, going up the stairs, mirroring that scene with Jack Nicholson, like, following her while he's, like, showing the baseball bat at her. And then, like, that's really cool, and I was like, oh, that's the exact same shot. but it didn't heighten the scene at
Right.
all because what they were doing was so different, that the dynamic was so different that it's like it was a really cool Easter egg, and it like grabbed my attention. It's like the blood coming out of the elevators. Like it grabs my attention, and then they don't use it to propel what they're doing.
I love when he swings the axe at her though, and the camera follows the axe like in The Shining. That's like my favorite moment in this whole movie. I think that rules.
Yeah, they do that twice. They do that again when he's gonna attack Abra. They do that thing because he swings the axe exactly how Jack Nicholson swings the axe.
Yeah. And then he's like running around in the hallways when he's possessed, and he's like running like Jack Nicholson. See, they lose me a little bit when they're like, oh, and now I'm gonna unleash all the Overlook ghosts from my brain to attack you. It's like, what's this? I don't know if I get this.
Yeah. and then they're like, you're not Danny, you're the hotel. And I'm like, Scoozy?
And it's like, it's kind of cool in just like a strictly blockbuster kind of way, but it's just like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
And then like when he's possessed by all the ghosts and he walks around with one milky eye like a zombie, and you're like, this isn't as subtle as the rest of the movie is, you know? But I don't know. It still works at the end of the day, I think.
Yeah. That bitch in the bathtub can just not catch a break. She's trying to get Danny, and she gets put in a box, and then Abra goes into the room that she's in, and then Abra's just like, fuck you, lady, and then they move on, and then she tries to get her again at the end of the movie, and then that bitch got put into another box. Like, just go to hell or whatever. It doesn't matter anymore.
I want to point out something kind of poetic. The boiler, there's a lot of steam coming out of it. Kind of like the steam of people who have shine. By the way, my good pitch for what I would have called this book if I were Stephen King is I would have called it The Steaming. Because it's kind of the same thing, right?
That's
Except
stupid.
they call it steam instead of shine, so I would call it The Steaming instead.
Yeah.
That's what I would
call it The Shining 2. Semi title below that. Obi-Wan Kenobi's really hot.
The Shining 2, even shinier.
Yeah, exactly. See, the one thing that did confuse me, like plot-wise, is that I know that they say don't go into 237 because that's like where something really bad happens, but I always thought that the lady in the bathtub was like specifically like was that because it was Jack, and Jack has all those hang-ups about like sex and women and stuff.
Right.
So I was confused that when anybody else went to 237, it was just always that woman. I thought it was like, because isn't the thing that Danny opens it and we don't get to see what he sees, or
That's true.
Remembering that wrong?
No, that's right. I mean,
yeah.
And I think that's just part of the tightrope walk of this whole Dr. Sleep versus The Shining source material thing. Because in the book, they're really explicit about that woman. They're like, oh, she's this old woman who is constantly, like, catfishing teenagers, and she would bring these, like, 18-year-old boys into her room all the time. And then one day, she just suddenly, like, went into her room and never came out, and like a week later they checked in and she was dead in the bathtub, and she had been rotting there for like a week and a half, so she was all decomposed, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of the many ghosts in the Overlook, so it's like a really specific thing in the book. So presumably when they were adapting it, Kubrick's version is a little more abstract. It's just he goes in there and there's this horrible witch. But what?
And we've just both called her a witch, and I don't know why, where that came from.
But it's a lot more specific in the book. So it's part of that making decisions on whose take on the story you want to pull from more,
And I gotta say, I do love that scene where, like, Danny, like, goes to, like, kind of confront his dad, and he's, like, trying to have a conversation with him about, like, what happened, and he's like, I'm Lloyd, and, like, just, like, how...
Right, yeah.
And then he, like, kind of breaks the facade a little bit, and it's like, okay, how much of this is Jack Torrance, and how much of this is the hotel, and, like, how much is it... Like, it's a really complicated scene, and I think it's really good.
Right. And I love that in that scene when they're talking, like, Dan is just, like, holding the glass the entire time, like, not drinking out of it, just considering, I don't know. And I also just like the idea that... Jack Torrance is just like one of the Overlook ghosts now. I know, I love that. I think that's fun. So, and I don't know, I just think the fact that the boiler explodes and the hotel burns down is fucking genius.
It's just really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know it from the book. I think that's the one thing in the book that I almost wished would have happened in the Kubrick movie, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such a cool and interesting thing, and they set it up so early in the book. It's like, that's one of your duties. It's like, this boiler's real old, and if you don't tend to it once a day, it's like shit's really gonna go wrong. And it's one of those things that they like are constantly reminding you of, that like if something goes wrong, this boiler will just fucking explode and burn the whole hotel down, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it is because in the book, when the boiler explodes, like that's a pretty definitive ending. Like a building can't be haunted anymore if the building's not fucking there, you know?
Right, yeah.
And then with Stanley Kubrick's, with him just like freezing to death, first of all, that's like, I don't know, I like how like slow that is, and like he just like can't fucking get out of the maze, like he's like the maze in his head, and he just like can't get out of it, and I think that's great. And then like the way that it ends with like Jack suddenly in all the pictures in the hotel, I like that it like eerily goes on without explanation.
Right, yeah.
And because you know in the spring, well, you don't know because this movie tells you that it doesn't, but like in the spring, you know that people are gonna come back here, and it's just gonna be the same old hotel, and this like kind of weird cycle is just gonna continue. So I don't know, I think I do like the Stanley Kubrick decision of like kind of not ending it, but just like kind of letting it like go on,
letting it continue. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Especially since they sort of set up the cyclical nature of the story right at the beginning, you know?
Oh, yeah, because they're like, oh, there's another dad here in the same position, and he killed his children. And it's like, okay, you're the guy in this position, and you're going to kill your children.
Right, yeah. And, I mean, not to just gush about The Shining. The Shining's my favorite movie of all time. I've seen it so many times. But I don't know, the thing that's so genius about The Shining is that he doesn't kill his wife and kid at the end. They're setting you up so much from the very beginning to be like, yo, they're gonna die. This is like kind of a slasher movie, and we're telling you like directly to your face, like right from the beginning, like this is what's gonna happen. This is the subtext. But then it doesn't. And you have all this like built up energy from like expecting them to get killed, and then they like, it's not like a big relief. It's just like suspense, and then they get in the crawler or the snowmobile. Yeah. And they drive away, and then, like, that's the end. That's it. Yeah. And you, like, have all this energy built up that you were expecting to, like, get released by them getting killed, you know? But they just never do. And so the credits roll, you just sit there and you're, like, vibrating because you're like, whoa, what?
It's just kind of like this, like, slow release as, like, you realize that the movie is over and that Jack is dead. Like, it's, it's not sudden, like... Because, oh, God, like, that ending shot of them, like, zoomed in on his face in the picture, and then, like, the next one, it zoomed out more, and then it zoomed out more, and then it zoomed out more. It's the opposite, actually, where it's just a hall, and they zoom in on his picture. Like, it's just the fact that it's so slow, and sometimes, and the first time it takes you a second to realize that it's Jack, it's just, like, totally mirrors your adrenaline as you're, like, so on edge that you just kind of slowly release.
Yeah.
The Shining's good, man.
Yeah, fucking The Shining's so good. I don't think we could ever do a podcast on The Shining. I don't think we'd be able to articulate
there's several movies that we could never do because it'd just be like, The Shining's really good, man.
Yeah. I'm working on a project right now where I talk about The Shining a lot. It's a secret, but so
it's
you'll
just a
see
secret
it soon.
You've had for like 4 years?
Yeah,
Yeah. I have video ideas. I just need to get... First of all, I need to get an external hard drive, and second of all, I need to save up money, and I need to get a good camera.
Right.
Because it would just... I need that.
Yeah, I've been brainstorming about starting a separate YouTube channel, and just have, like, No Nerds Allowed podcast be one thing, and No Nerds Allowed as just a general, like, video channel be a different thing. I think that would help us, just in terms of building an audience, I guess. I don't know, because I don't feel like...
Branding.
Yeah, I just think it would be different. I don't know. We should finish the podcast before we talk about this.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else we want to say before I get into our 1-star review?
I mean, the kind of the elephant in the room, maybe not. I don't know. I really like the girl. I really like Abra.
Right.
I do this movie pulls a Shining where they kill all of the minorities.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, I mean, I have a take about The Shining only killing Dick Halloran.
Yeah, because they were making it was like a meta commentary about the film industry, and like I get that.
Right. I mean, to me, I don't know. Nobody knows what his real intent was, but to me, what I read it like is that the whole movie is, by all accounts, like this sort of metaphor for like genocide. There's a lot of imagery about like Native American genocide and Nazi Holocaust.
Yeah, it's like on the burial ground and all that stuff.
And, and I think what it's doing is it's making this idea of genocide feel more personal because it puts it on a smaller scale, right? Mm-hmm. And what I think is important is the fact that the only black character in the story is the one who ends up dead, even though he's not really hasn't done anything to. I mean, not that
warrant being killed.
Exactly. And I think that's important. I think Kubrick is really explicitly, because Dick Halloran doesn't die in the book, right? They made a really explicit decision to kill Dick Halloran in the movie. I think it's specific that it's like he's saying like this thing, when these horrible things happen, they happen to people who are brown or whatever it may be, you know. They happen to minorities and oppressed people, not just the people who are would logically be affected by it, you know.
And anyway. I mean, there definitely is something to say about the fact that the killer is a straight white male and he's attacking the people who he's supposed to be protecting. He's attacking his wife and his child, right? So I mean, there definitely is a conversation going on about like that.
No, totally. Are we talking about what was your? Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I like the little girl too. I think she's good.
It just really bugged me. Because I really, what's his name? Billy, the best friend.
Right. Oh, who?
The guy that gives him the job and gives him the room and goes on the
right. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But they kind of kill him in a way that I think is kind of stupid. I don't think it's stupid. I think it makes sense. I don't like that the movie doesn't put any stock in. Like, he shoots himself and then we move on. Like, I feel like it doesn't give him his dues. And then they do the same thing with the dad, where the dad is just, like, in the background of the shot and has a knife in him. And it's like, okay, these are, like, important deaths, and the movie's just, like, sailing right past them. And then it doesn't help that they are, like, the majority of the minority characters. Like, you still have Abra, and I think she's the saving grace of it not being a racial discussion because she is also black. But yeah, I don't know. Especially because with the history of that conversation in The Shining, I think it was a weird decision to make and not make so strongly, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I mean, first of all, I've said this about other things before. This movie's already real long, first of all.
No, I get it. I understand.
But B, there is also a director's cut. We could just
cut out that shot of her flying around, because nobody needs that.
Yeah, no, I don't like that shot at all. But there is a director's cut that I haven't seen. That is like a full half hour longer. It's like a full 3-hour movie. And people have been saying it's like really, really cool. And they add a lot of really interesting and really cool scenes. I don't know what all they are. They might give more weight to those deaths and have a little more space to breathe. I don't know for certain. I've just heard really, really good things about the director's cut, which I have yet to watch. But
it just seems so weird, because that's like such like a pivotal conversation about The Shining, is that death and why they do that. So it seems weird to like kind of do the same thing, but then like not make a big deal out of it, like not go whole hog about it, you know? Like if you're gonna like have that conversation, but instead they just kind of do it and then move on. Yeah, this movie sometimes just does things because they were in The Shining, but then doesn't use it to their advantage. They just use it for no reason. Right.
It's kind of like what people say about Ready Player One, right? Because Ready Player One is all about these pieces of iconography from famous pop culture, but it doesn't take into account any of the things that those pieces of iconography mean or represent, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the bike from Akira. I haven't seen Akira, but I'm told there's a lot of metaphorical subtext about the bike specifically. The bike from Akira shows up a lot. They go to the Overlook Hotel, and that's a whole set piece set in the Overlook, which I actually really like, but still. And, you know, the Iron Giant has a lot of really intense, like, subtextual elements to just the fact, like, what it is. But the movie doesn't care about any of those things. He's not just a big robot. Yeah, the movie cares that he's a big, cool robot that you have on your nerdy coffee mug you bought on Etsy, you know?
Yeah. that you got in your that you got in your geek crate.
Right, and you're right. Yeah, you've got Iron Giant t-shirts from your loot crate. But yeah, I don't know. And I think there's sort of a similar argument to be made for this, that it's just sort of using the iconography because it knows it, and it's, kind of relevant, but it's not really delving into what those things originally meant in the movie,
Exactly. I think that's my biggest criticism of this movie, is that they do really cool. They do really cool things, but then they just don't use them to like their advantage.
Right. Totally. So Adeline, would you rather hear a 5-star review or a 1-star review of Dr. Sleep?
Which do you think is funnier?
I don't know. One of them's... we'll see. Oh, super quick. I didn't have a trivia time for this episode because this movie's too new. There
hasn't been years of people saying stupid stuff with all the other movies.
The really good trivia really blossoms when it comes out on home video, and this movie just came out on home video a few days ago. Anyway, okay, so this review is 1 star from letterboxd.com. This person says, exactly as I was expecting. He's ruined everything that was good about the story by making it a PG-13 fantasy movie with terrible CGI and nothing even remotely scary happening.
This movie definitely isn't PG-13.
No, yeah, I just want to point out, this movie's a hard R. Like, it is, it is definitely not PG-13.
Were you there when they murdered a kid?
Yeah.
Were you there?
And this person, not to like go into it, this person continues to talk about how the things that he doesn't like about it are the CGI effects. He's like, people get made fun of for using glowy eyes and gray skeletons all the time, but when this movie does it, it's good. Like, as if that's the only thing that matters about the movie is the visual effects that they're choosing to use. Whatever.
It's like, it's not even like they tried to do something in full CGI. Like, they didn't even do that. It's just like an effect on a thing. And you're like, oh my god, the effects are garbage.
I've seen somebody with glowing eyes before. I don't want to see anybody with glowing eyes ever again. I
can do that on TikTok right now.
If those eyes glow, it's a bad film. I don't make the rules.
Just work here. By choice, because this is just a place where I can put my bad opinion.
Right. This is No Nerds Allowed. Yeah. Whatever, I don't know. This podcast is bad anyway.
And I'm Adeline McMurray, and this is the No Nerds Allowed, starring me.
Does that mean we have to vamp out again? I thought I already vamped out one time. Do I have to vamp out a second time?
You vamp once, and then you do the outro, and then you vamp again. The double vampire.
Okay, alright, fine. Podcast over. Everybody go home, it's done. We're done talking about it.
Why are you still vamping?
Because I had to vamp still.
Stop vamping!
The outro's still playing.